Good afternoon, everyone. This is Caitlin Bottoms. I'm the AmeriCorps Program Director at HHCK. I was hoping to have a couple more people join today, but maybe they'll hop on tomorrow. And like I said in the chat, we want to be respectful of your time. So we're just going to move forward with our training today. So hopefully you all can hear me just fine. If not, just let us know in the chat. But otherwise, I'll just keep moving. All right, today we are going to talk about a few different things. Hopefully we'll be able to wrap up earlier than 4. We just like to give ourselves as much time as possible just in case we have a lot of questions or a lot of information to share. We'll talk about recruitment and the next VISTA start dates that we have, the roles and expectations, the ones you can have of HHCK and the ones we have of you. We'll talk about performance measures and project reporting, the VISTA assignment description, our plan for orienting and training members, how we plan to develop and support them throughout the year, supervising the VISTA member, important VISTA policies that you need to know as a project site, and then, the next steps in getting started. Just a quick introduction. We haven't been able to meet most of you with pandemic, and we have a few new sites. So I'm Caitlin Bottoms. I'm the AmeriCorps Program Director. I've been with HHCK since 2015. I served as an AmeriCorps direct service member, and I also served as an AmeriCorps VISTA member. So I've been through the program. I have a pretty good idea of what our VISTAs go through. And so, yeah, Holly Dennis, she'll speak in just a little bit. She's our AmeriCorps member coordinator. She's been with us since 2019. Holly also served as a direct service member in our AmeriCorps program. Okay, so I don't think this applies to everyone on the call, but I did want to share some updates about recruitment. We know it's been challenging for a lot of our sites this year. July 23rd is the final day to recommend a member for an August start date. We don't have any other confirmed VISTA start dates from the federal agency. They'll likely come out with a calendar sometime soon, but we don't know when that will be, so I don't have information to give you. It will likely be October or November. And we typically don't bring on members during this not summer season, but we do understand the challenges that we faced here at HHCK with recruiting, and we want you to be able to have your VISTA project. So we'll be more flexible, or we're planning to be, and hopefully we can get someone started in the fall, if not in August. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Holly, and she'll talk to you a little bit about roles and expectations.
Hi, everyone. So first, we're going to go over HHCK's role as the sponsoring organization. So for us, you can expect that, we're going to serve as the fiscal agent. So everything that comes along with that, HHCK is the overall administrator of the VISTA program. We are going to support our members and you as site supervisors and your organizations while you have a VISTA member through our program serving with you. That is a large part of my job, is to support our members, make sure that things are going as well as they possibly can be. If there's any types of resources, additional resources that we can offer when that comes to trainings, additional professional developments and things like that. So we are also, Caitlin and I are the ones that will communicate with VISTA and our site. So any questions that you guys might have as the year goes on with your project, or whatever the case may be, if it's questions that have to be addressed with our VISTA portfolio manager, we will do that. We collect your VISTA projects data, and we report that to AmeriCorps to ensure, that we are able to keep our projects going and receive, additional funding and show the federal agency what our members are doing throughout their communities. We will also provide any type of like technical training assistance as the year goes on to you and our members. So in partnership with you as the supervisor, we are going to ensure that the VISTA members are successfully enrolled. We'll talk about what that means. We're going to help supervise and mentor our VISTA members together collectively, and we're going to support the overall progress of the VISTA project. So your role as the VISTA project site, you are going to develop the project. So that includes the goals, the metrics, the activities that are found on that VAD or VISTA assignment description, and the narratives you provide in the performance measure, target numbers that you submitted to us. Your organization is also ultimately responsible for gathering and ensuring that the data submitted on behalf of your VISTA project is accurate. And your member plays an important role when it comes to that process, but they shouldn't hold that responsibility entirely to themselves. You're going to onboard, orient them about your organization, the services that your organizations provide, and you're going to train members. You're going to provide any administrative support. So, on their first day of service, just making sure that they have supplies that they may need, the equipment and the space we just want to make sure that on that first day, we're setting them up for success. And then you're going to, supervise and mentor. So a big, responsibility of being a supervisor is, recording or, logging the attendance and monitoring that their leave, coaching and guiding the members or your member throughout their year of service, and just providing that ongoing support while they are serving on a project. Okay, so mutual expectations. So what you can expect or what we can expect from you, is that we just ask that you comply with the VISTA and our program policies. We will review several of these broad policies today, but you will also need to thoroughly read the site agreement, and what you will find as a helpful resource is looking on vistacampus.gov as well. VISTA, on that website that I just mentioned, VISTA Campus, they're they've really streamlined everything for members, site supervisors, sponsoring organizations. So all of the VISTA policies are on that website. We can guide and provide you with clarifications, but ultimately it is up to your organization to understand what is allowable and unallowable, or also along with just the expectations of a sub-site. So, to kind of go back to the PowerPoint presentation, we talked about, reviewing the VISTA campus and the site agreement. If there's any issues that arise at any point, it is best to contact me and Caitlin first up front rather than waiting to a point where it could be there's no point in or no movement in the progress. So contact us if any issues happen. Just making sure that we're using appropriate service language. So VISTA, the VISTA member, the living allowance, the person's role. So for example, like a VISTA community development coordinator. And so just acknowledging that this is a partnership between HHCK and your organization. And what you can expect from us is any updates. Typically, they are quarterly, or as you know, sometimes like dealing with grants and things like that, the federal government can kind of throw things on us. So, but typically it is quarterly. We're going to offer you and the member again support throughout this year of partnership. Mediation, that kind of goes back to if there are any issues that are, happen or occur during a service year. Let us know if there's any type of mediation that needs to happen. That's what we're here for. And we're going to offer any advice and recommendations, and we're going to thoughtfully make the decisions that are the best decisions for the member and the project in your organization. I'm going to turn it back over to Caitlin.
Okay, so Holly mentioned this a little bit already, VISTA project reporting. So when you filled out your project application for your site, you developed a whole well-crafted project for your organization. And so throughout the year, you will report on the successes and on the challenges. The VISTA member will be involved in that, but as Holly mentioned, it's not their sole responsibility. You'll work with them on getting that data compiled and reported to us so that we can report it to the Federal AmeriCorps agency. We try and do this on a quarterly basis now. There won't be a report due until November, then there will be February, then May, and then there will be a final report depending on when your member starts service. We'll send plenty of reminders out, of course, beforehand and guide you through it throughout the year. VISTAs will also report on a monthly basis to us on their impact. It's going to include quantitative and qualitative data and stories. That's their sole responsibility. You don't have to be involved in that. We do collect those in our reporting system called America Learns. I have a little screenshot on the side of the presentation so you can see what it looks like. We send those to VISTA at the regional office, and they do sometimes share those with Congress, and we ask for those on the 20th of each month. Again, you don't need to know that date. The date is given to the member, but just so you know what they'll be working on each month for us. There's also, it's called a progress report supplement. We submit it in November each year. It's for a very specific time frame. So we'll be collecting data from you as well for that report. And so I know some of your projects have just started, or they will have just started, so you might not even have anything to add, and that's fine. But just as a heads up, we will be sending that survey or report out later this fall. Again, we'll provide written guidance to you and we'll support you throughout it, offer you plenty of reminders. As the site, we ask that you ensure data is accurate and complete and reported in time. And even if your VISTA leaves service early, or when we ask for a report and you don't have an active VISTA member, we still need to collect data from you, so you may hear from us at random times throughout the year. And this is because the reporting timeline that we're obligated to with our federal grant, it doesn't line up with your member's term of service. It's like its own timeline standing on its own. And if you have a project during that time, we have to report on it. That quarterly report that you're going to help your member fill out 4 times a year, there's a few different sections to it. The first is narratives. You'll tell us about your challenges, what you have done to support your VISTA members, any partnerships and collaborations that have taken place as a result of the VISTA project, the steps you have taken to sustain the VISTA project, and any other notable stories. You'll update us on your performance measures, the target numbers you set in your project application. This includes the number of volunteers and the dollar value of cash and in-kind resources leveraged. And then you'll also report on member development. So any professional development opportunities you gave your member. This can include like effective volunteer management training, systems training, grant writing training. There's a whole list of them that you'll see in the report. To expand a little bit about performance measures, so you did review and select these when you completed your site application. We also asked for like a confirmation a couple months ago. I've listed the most typical capacity building performance measures on the left side of the screen. You didn't select all of those on there necessarily. You may have only selected a few, so you'll only report on the ones that you told us you were going to. The capacity building performance measures are 1/2 of your VISTA project. The other half is the anti-poverty component. So you have the VISTA project, you have the capacity building services in order to provide more direct services that are supposed to, positively impact people experiencing poverty. So typically you're going to have a housing or homelessness related performance measure. We don't only have, or we have sites that do things other than housing. So they may have things related to healthy futures and food security, but I didn't put those on the screen. Ultimately, the capacity goal of your VISTA project is either increasing your scale or reach, and then assessing the effectiveness or efficiency of the organization. We talked a little bit, not specifically about the difference between capacity building and direct service. We do have those 2 programs at HHCK. Your VISTA is of course focused on capacity building. So they're going to work on tasks and activities to expand the scale, reach, efficiency, or effectiveness of the program so that you can provide, those better direct services. And then you have direct service AmeriCorps members. Your members should not be doing any direct service during their time with you. They're not direct service members. So they shouldn't be doing anything that's like providing immediate solutions to helping people. So that could, mean someone coming into shelter, needing case management, or, someone taking some other type of service. Your VISTA member is not going to be involved in any of that. The VISTA assignment description, you all, you submitted a proposal when you did your project site application. We may have asked for clarifications. The VISTA assignment description is meant to be the guiding document for the entire service year. So it's something that your members should refer to regularly throughout the year. It's something you should refer to. It's a good tool to use when you're meeting with your VISTA member to make sure they're on track with the project. Anything your member is doing should stem from the VAD. It should be able to tie back into what they're doing, into what the project is. And when we have clear VADs, with like objectives and goals and milestones and timelines, it just helps clarify things for the member throughout the year and set up expectations for what they'll see throughout their service. One component, if you're not familiar with VISTA, is all about sustainability. So they want you to have this VISTA project. VISTA is going to put a lot of effort into it. Your organization is as well, in order to sustain it for after the VISTA resources are no longer available. So your VISTA member is responsible for working on those tasks and activities to build that capacity. They will also engage staff and community members in those VAD activities. And their job is to transfer knowledge, any templates or products they've created or any relationships they've developed to existing staff or volunteers for after they leave, so that the work and efforts of the project can continue. As the supervisor or the organization or the project site, your goal is to envision the future of the project. What are your outcomes? What are you wanting from this project? What would you like to see after VISTA resources are over? It's suggested that you could create a community advisory board that could help you create and implement your sustainability plan. And then as you're planning for sustainability, of course, you want to bring your VISTA members into that. A quick refresher on what VISTA is not. VISTA is not employment. Please do not refer to it as a job or your employee or your worker, because they are none of those things. They're this really unique, position where they're not a volunteer, but they're not a hired employee. I see a lot of references to jobs when I have sites emailing us. And we just ask that you don't do that, because it's not a job and it just blurs things for the VISTA member. VISTA members aren't there to do direct service. VISTA is not a never-ending resource. It does have an end date. They're not there to just do temp work or be an intern or just sit there and do data entry. They're not meant to fill in for staffing gaps. They're not a replacement for permanent staff. They're not going to be there to keep, work on keeping lights on activities like any admin work or anything like that. They're not supposed to be a secretary. And then they just don't know everything. They can't do everything for your organization. They can do a lot, and we hope that's the case. But just managing our expectations of what they're there to do is very helpful. All right, I am transferring it back to Holly. So just 1 second.
Okay, whoops. Hope you can hear me. So next we'll talk about member orientation and training plans. So there are 3 parts to this. So the first part is the virtual member orientation with AmeriCorps. So what we ask is that you be present on site or virtually to meet with your member and to begin orienting them to the VISTA project. And we just ask, oh, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry about that. So to talk about the virtual member orientation with VISTA, so before a member starts on their first day, they will have early service coursework. So that there's an email that your member, once they have been nominated for their position, they will receive an email from VISTA regarding this early service coursework. It will contain tutorials and just online readings. There will also be 2 live webinars. The first one is the countdown to VISTA service. So this happens 1 week before their service term. And then the second one is launching your VISTA service. So the launching your VISTA service is on the member's first day, and it is absolutely required for your member to be on this orientation webinar. Again, there are some onboarding forms that, for example, for their background checks that VISTA completes, that's typically some of those forms. There are requirements, so just making sure that they have reliable access to internet, phone, or whatever other type of equipment that the member needs to make sure that they can successfully get onto that virtual member orientation or VMO. make sure that they have, they're comfortable with working on a computer, or can, just make sure that they are comfortable with like that distance learning. It's not recommended, and this comes from AmeriCorps, it's not recommended to hop onto the virtual member orientation on a phone or smartphone or any other like mobile device or on public Wi-Fi. So it would be best that they are, at your organization for this orientation. And just making sure that you are furnishing them with a workstation on their first day. So yeah, that's okay. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to add, sorry, I forgot to add this. For the virtual member orientation that we just talked about, it will be at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So, just confirm that your candidate or your member understands what time or when that orientation is going to occur. And like I mentioned, it will be on their start date. So for example, if you have a member that's starting on Monday, the 19th, Monday will be their VMO with VISTA. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I said that. Part 2, so your organization developed an on-site orientation training that you submitted with your application. A well-crafted, like OSOT, as I'll refer to it as, will really ensure that your VISTA member does feel confident with their new environment, and it will, make space for feedback or any questions that they might have. So a lot of you are in the application. We do provide like a structured or a PDF that you can fill in with additional organization specific or project specific training that you're going to offer to your member. Okay, so before your VISTA arrives, we are in collaboration with you. We're going to explain, or you're going to explain or what the AmeriCorps VISTA program is, and what the member's role is, what their role is while they're there at your organization to the other staff. You're hopefully going to order the member business cards, making sure that the business card has the AmeriCorps logo on it. We'll talk about branding later because it's kind of changing for AmeriCorps, but we'll talk about that. Make sure that you're creating an email address for the VISTA member. So any type of like project related emails and correspondence, things like that, they'll have that specific email to use. You want to check in with the member often and make sure that they, know the directions to your organization and the expectations for their first day of service. For example, what time they need to show up on their first day. And you can contact me or Caitlin if you have any questions. For the VISTA's first day. So we hope that you introduce the member to other staff that is there on their first day of service. Provide a tour of your organization, neighborhoods, whatever you think would be beneficial for the project and for the person. Talk about your orientation plans. You definitely want to go over, those immediate like housekeeping items So mail services, how ordering office supplies work. If there's a parking issue like there is in downtown Frankfurt, talk about that. You want to, show and just make sure that the person, has a use of a phone, their email, a computer, network, server, copier, fax, just making sure that they have access and can use those, that equipment. If the person needs, keys or whatever type of access to the building, making sure that they have that. When it comes to the project, be sure to talk about the VAG, review it, what those work plans are for the VISTA. Really making sure that you're clarifying the VISTA assignment and assignments, I should say. On that VAD, go over the goals and the objectives for the whole project year. And if you are an organization that has had a VISTA before, you can talk about the previous members' accomplishments and where, you're at with this new project. There will be a VISTA training webinar or like I mentioned, the virtual member orientation. It is in the afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and members must participate. So if a person cannot participate, it affects actually like their start date. So if they can't participate, for example, on July 19th, then their start date would have to be the next one, which is August 2nd. So that's why it is very important that there are no issues and they participate on that virtual member orientation. Weeks 1 and 2, you're going to talk about the purpose of your organization, talk about the culture, history, the organization's mission, talk about your organizational chart, what those staff duties look like. You want to introduce your member to your community and just talk about, how will the VISTA project impact the community? I think it pretty, when it comes to doing like capacity building service, it can kind of get, I don't want to say like lost in translation, but the member can maybe kind of lose an idea of like what they're working towards. And so really just showing them how those capacity, I'm so sorry, a call came through, and how their capacity building activities, better sustain direct services to their community. You want to talk about member supervision and talk about what those performance expectations are and those standards. Talk about what your communication style is like. Talk to them about what their communication style is like, and figure out the best way to talk to one another. And just talk about that your working relationship. It would be best to, provide the person some time to just kind of like recoup after like learning about, so much information and taking all of that in. So giving them some time to adjust and just read through some materials on their own and kind of at their own pace, and then check back in with them and see how they're feeling. Kind of wrapping up your on-site orientation training, you want to complete, the member and supervisor expectation agreement, and just throughout that first month of service, if there's any additional training opportunities, like if there's like a grant workshop that you can send the person to, sign them up or register them for that. give them additional reading materials, listserv, just like standing calls, and just having them participate in meetings that you have going on during their first month of service. Part 3. So up to this point, like we've talked about, the virtual member orientation with the federal agency. And so we also, Homes for All, we also provide an orientation. So there are, there's on the screen, there's listed 3 different orientation days. That's all depending on when your member will be starting service. So your member would only need to attend one. So the first orientation that we are offering is on August 2nd. The second is August 18th. The third one is September 1st. Of course, Caitlin mentioned with onboarding members, we don't have what that fall schedule is going to look like. So if need be, we will schedule out more orientations. We will do a VISTA Skills Training Day on September 9th. Okay, member development and support. So we are going to provide, formal trainings in addition to the formal trainings that your organization can offer the member as well. Any professional development opportunities. If your organization, does staff meetings or retreats, making sure that your VISTA member is a part of those and feels, a part of the team. Informal, we think, just in our experience, having, those weekly check-ins with the person it really makes the person feel, comfortable, and just sets them up to a good year of service. And, probably or it does help with communication, having that open door policy. Obviously, when things have to be, more structured, you guys talk about that, and just mentoring them throughout their year. A lot of people coming into a service are looking to gain new knowledge or new experiences, and so they are really looking for that mentorship between you and them. So VISTA member support, there are some, I'm sorry, the support, it must be offered and available equally to all VISTA members at a site. So with that said, that's talking about if you have more than one VISTA member serving with your organization. You cannot give cash or checks to the person unless, it's a reimbursable expense. So it can't be, a cash or check cannot be given directly to the member. The member should be making a commitment to live at and among the economic level of the people that your organization serve, and the support that you offer should not undermine this. So, for example, like a meal or cafeteria cards should not be given like on a regular basis, but it can be given like on a special occasion. If you are, giving those out to VISTA members. It's also not required or expected for organizations to do this, but again, it is appreciated when you're able to offer that. And here are some other, things that your organization can offer the member, helping with like housing. So we've had a site in previous years, like pay maybe like a portion of the person's rent. And so the organization paid that amount to the rental company. If you can do, a Kroger card, clothing, promotional items with like a logo. Yeah, so again, it's just to be fair and equitable in support to all of our VISTA members. Or if you are a site that has other AmeriCorps like direct service members. So here's HHCK's role in orientation and training and development and support to the member. We do check-ins as well. We will check in with your member within 2 weeks, or I shouldn't say we, I will check in with your member within 2 weeks of them starting service. We will offer that orientation training in August and those additional dates as well. This is a supplement to that virtual member orientation that the federal agency does. We are going to be doing, hopefully, we'll be doing mid-year like site visits. So within like the first 3 to 5 months of service, we'll get to come visit you and your member at your organization. We always really enjoy going those. We are going to be offering monthly trainings. Just talking about like VISTA responsibilities, expectations, training, project support. Another, great resource for members is the website that I mentioned, VISTA Campus. Webinars, so any resources and trainings that we feel fit to support the VISTA project, we will make sure that they're available to the VISTA. We will do, or I will do individual check-ins and talk about, the progress, if there's any challenges that need to be worked through, talk about successes that have happened up until that point. We will also have service projects. So 9/11 Day, we do an MLK Day project, and typically we do an annual spring service project with both of our programs. So those are a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we'll be able to hopefully get back to doing those. And then we offer an end of year training in summer 2022. It's typically in July, and we get together and it's a fun celebration, but also we provide some career service trainings and how to, access the education award and just successfully exit service. And as needed with everyone involved on the project, we will offer mediation and resolutions. So serving as the VISTA member or supervising the VISTA member. Oh my gosh, I can't read.
All right, I'm going to take over to talk about supervising the VISTA member. So you as a site supervisor, you are the member's main support, main contact, guide, mentor, and ultimately supervisor. So it's your job to take a big role, the primary role in orienting vistas to your site and the project. You'll participate in supervisor meetings with us and with your member, any site visits that we do. You should dedicate time to meet with your vistas each week. If that's not an option, I would say bi-weekly, like at the very minimum. You're serving, like we said, supervisor, coach, mentor. We ask that you ensure timely approval of member timesheets. We'll talk about that in a few slides. You're going to work on the VISTA project report with your VISTA member. We may ask for a summary on how things are going, just like check-ins. You'll do a member evaluation twice per year in conjunction with our staff. If you exit your position or you're taking extended leave, please notify us of that before it happens. just so we can find a new supervisor for your member and make sure they have like a smooth transition. And I'm not yelling at you when I put communicate in all capital letters, just emphasizing how important that is. You should expect us to communicate as well. Okay, there's a lot of text on the screen. I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I did want to just highlight a couple of key differences in supervising a VISTA member versus an employee. So VISTA member is, of course, part of a national service program. They're committing themselves to serve for 1 year. We have VISTA members of all ages and backgrounds, but I mean, I think you do see more often that they are early in their career, so they might need some extra guidance and support, especially in like workplace norms and professional working habits. They do serve for limited benefits, and we find most often that they're interested in cultivating an experience that is meaningful both professionally and personally, which is why we ask a lot of sites in supporting the member and developing, and that's what we do a lot of here at HHCK. Or at least that's our goal. We want them to grow as much as they can. They may need some more support in, integrating into the organization. They do need to make that transition quickly though, since they are only there for 1 year. I think most of the VISTAs that have already been selected for this year are from the community in which they're going to be serving, but if not, it can be a bigger adjustment for them if they're new to the community. VISTAs, as we said a few times, they have a very specific assignment. And so it's important that other staff in your organization understand that. And we really appreciate your help in playing that key role to help other staff members understand the nature of VISTA service and what your VISTA is there to do. So sometimes we have sites with employees that ask the VISTA to do things unrelated to their VAD, stuff that's not allowable. It might ask them to do direct service. And so again, your help in helping the member maintain and set boundaries is, really crucial. Of course, they do earn some benefits throughout the year, but it can be, it's a limiting program. They don't make a ton of money. I would argue they don't make any money. So there might be some anxiety about finances during their year of service. And like we said, you have VISTAs of all different backgrounds. So you might have one that comes in that has lots of experience in the workplace and may see service as an opportunity to either transition to a new career field or retire or give back after retirement. So they may have a lot to bring to your organization, and you're probably going to approach them or approach supervising them in a different way. Member timesheet. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this because we do send out a training presentation that you can go through at your own pace on your own time so you can learn our reporting system. Our reporting system is called America Learns. Again, that screenshot is on the presentation on the right side. Your member will submit their time on a biweekly basis. I will say VISTAs are so good about submitting their timesheets for the most part. They're good about getting it in on time. Members don't have a strict schedule that they stick to, or sorry, let me walk that back. They don't have a strict hour requirement that they have to meet. Your VISTA members are there to serve in a full-time capacity for a 1-year term of service. So whatever full-time schedule your organization follows, that's what your members should be doing as well. They do receive 10 personal or vacation days, 10 sick days, and then they have the holidays that HHCK observes that they're able to take off. And we ask for you to approve timesheets at least monthly. You will get a notification each time your member submits their timesheet. So some supervisors find it easy to just go in right then and approve it, but at the minimum, approving it at least once a month. Okay, ideally you go through your service year with your VISTA without any issues, but sometimes, unfortunately they do come up. So we ask that you address them early. As that can be uncomfortable. You might just want to hope it, self-resolves, but we find it better that we just approach it as soon as it occurs. It's more to document, and then I would argue document again. I know, again, that cannot be fun. You might just want it to resolve on its own. But even just like making a memo or sending us a quick email, like that's very helpful in this process. We have a couple of forms that we provide to sites to use. One's called the corrective action plan. That's if your member has like a clear direct violation of what we call our standards of conduct. So if there's like repeated absences without, any communication, they're failing to submit reports timely, they're not submitting timesheets, things like that. We'll use that form. You can use that form. But if there's like an issue related to like their productivity or the way they're approaching tasks, we have a form called the member action plan, which is just like really a document to help like redirect them and guide them into what you want them to be doing. So it's not like as like disciplinary seeming as the corrective action plan. It's really important that you understand that you cannot fire or dismiss your VISTA member, especially when they get to like towards the end of the service year and you feel like you're just ready to be done with them. Their project's not over. They are there for a 1-year term of service. So that's why we ask you to let us know if there are issues early. We also ask that you communicate that with everyone at your organization. What you can do if you're having issues that are not resolvable, you contact either me or Holly to request their removal from your site. If you have documentation of any issues, you will hopefully have already shared those with us throughout the year. But without proper documentation, your member, they then have rights to maybe get transferred to a different project. And so if something has occurred that's like very concerning and jeopardizes like people's safety, we obviously don't want them to move to another site. So we need that documentation. Then, if we have enough documentation that they do not need to continue in service, they're removed from the VISTA project and program overall. And we really find that evaluations are a good time to share feedback and express your desired outcomes. It's a good way for them to share how they're feeling, what support they need. We ask that you really consider what's appropriate to include in an evaluation. So focusing on performance-based issues, not like character-based problems that you have with the member. And then you are the one completing the site supervisor portion of the evaluation. You are the only site supervisor. You can receive input from other, people that your VISTA member works with, but we don't need 5 different people pretending they're the supervisor and you're all filling the form out together. That's not fair to the member. Unfortunately, we do have members that experience some challenges or they come into issues during their year of service. So we share these with you up front so you can be mindful of them during your year with your member. And what we see most often, if there are issues experienced by the member, is when there's a lack of guidance from the site supervisor. The member's not really sure what they should be doing or if they're on track, which is why we recommend referring to the VISTA assignment description regularly. Members are sometimes asked to do things by different staff at your site who don't understand VISTA. They're maybe asked to do some direct service and, they are at your site every day. They don't want things to get uncomfortable or awkward, so they'll just do it anyway, but they don't necessarily feel comfortable and they know they shouldn't be doing it. If we have a faith-based site, we have, sometimes it works really well and sometimes we do have issues with members being asked to participate in religious activity or conduct religious based activities. Sometimes we have members that are just responsible for too many different things. So is what you're asking of your VISTA member reasonable for a 1-year term of service? Of course, I think everyone experiences burnout in every position, but we do see that with VISTAs. VISTAs, it's a frustrating experience for them if they don't feel like they have a lot of honesty from their side or a lot of communication, and not necessarily even a lot of communication, but just like good, clear communication. So if you're having challenges with your VISTA and their work they're doing, that's why you should address it early. More often than not, your VISTA wants to do well. They want to make a difference. They want to make, a meaningful impact. So just having those clear, open conversations with them. And as I mentioned on the last slide, sometimes we just have sites that, like too many cooks in the kitchen, too many people trying to supervise the member. That's not fair to them. You're their site supervisor. You are the one guiding them throughout their year.
Okay, Caitlin is handing it back over to me. And we're going to talk about important VISTA policies. So, this is from AmeriCorps, but it is reiterated by us. And we want to make sure that you, as a supervisor and our VISTA members, never know what the policies or rules are while they're serving with us. That's okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about branding. So if you print business cards for your VISTA member, please make sure that the AmeriCorps logo is on their business card. They should also identify as an AmeriCorps VISTA member or Homes for All VISTA member. They should identify in that way. They should also include that in their email signatures along with the AmeriCorps logo. They will receive member gear from us at the beginning of their service term. I think VISTA, they're also allotted it, I think, so much money. Is that still a thing? The member yeah. The member, whenever they start service, VISTA will give them some money to hop onto their website and order some VISTA gear as well. So you could make a name badge as well with the VISTA logo or AmeriCorps logo on it so that they can wear it, at all times, identifying as a member. Making sure that we're using the correct terminology. If you update your website with, to include your VISTA member, just make sure that we are, using that correct terminology and calling them by their title. Yeah. If you have any questions, or if you're looking for how to get the AmeriCorps logo or something, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. We can get that to you. The VISTA schedule and term of service. So these are things that we talk about, or I talk about with the person after you all have recommended someone to our office for the project. I talked to them about how this is a 1-year commitment. So it is a 365-day commitment. And in the full-time capacity, so Caitlin mentioned there's not an hourly requirement like in another AmeriCorps program. They just have to be serving in a full-time capacity, so at least 36 hours per week. There are some outside employment policies and forms, just to kind of go off of that. If a person were to have outside employment, it cannot be with your organization and it cannot interfere with their normal VISTA service schedule. So when we are nominating a person to our VISTA regional office, there's actually, and I talk about if they're going to have outside employment, and if they are for sure that they're going, have a part-time job or something, I will go ahead and send that outside employment there's a form that VISTA requires, and so I will send it to them, they'll fill it out, and then I attach it along with their nomination, so that the VISTA office is already aware of that outside employment and can go ahead and approve it, or ask any questions about that. So with their schedule, this is something that should be talked about very early, and it is set up for one that works with you as the site supervisor and with the member. It should be signed and agreed to, and the VISTA should understand that, not every day is going to work out to where it's like a 9 to 5. There may be times where things happen, or maybe it's an event or something, and it's going to fall outside of their typical VISTA service schedule. Oh, well, outside employment, I kind of talked about that. The VISTA may accept outside employment, and those positions have to be legal, they have to be part-time, they cannot conflict with their service schedule, and their service hours, and it doesn't violate any like federal, state, or local laws and regulations. And it does not conflict with any AmeriCorps VISTA program requirements or policies. So like I said, there's a form that we submit to the VISTA office once we are made aware that the person is going to have outside employment. Teleservice. So in a typical VISTA year, the standard policy is a member can serve from home or somewhere else 2 days per pay period. They have to be in service at least for 3 months before they can teleserve. And the VAD and project must allow teleservice. So if it's, more of like a volunteer type VAD project or a VISTA project, things can look a little differently, but the VAD and the project must really allow that teleservice to happen. So that's the standard policy. The COVID policy is that full-time remote service is available right now. So if you are an organization that's still doing part-time working from home or something like that, right now we do have a little bit more of flexibility with teleservice for a member, but we just want to go ahead and say that policy is going to be expiring probably in September. So just keep that in mind. So basically, when we're talking about teleservice, it is a fundamental assumption that VISTA service is, that the VISTA member will serve in a low-income community at your organization's location in the project site. So there are limited circumstances where the VISTA office might approve the member to request to perform those service activities. But again, there has to be a teleservice agreement form completed, and it has to be very episodic. I'm not going to read all of these, but I will say VISTA, at the federal level, they talk about prohibited activities. We will talk about prohibited activities. So your members should definitely know what those prohibited activities are that they cannot be doing while they are serving or acting in a VISTA capacity, I should say. But a lot of them are, engaging in political activities. Again, what we say to members, what you do on your own time, we we don't want to interfere with that, but, please don't, wear the VISTA logo or Homes for All logo. Don't be like representing AmeriCorps or your organizations or Homes for All if they are doing any of these prohibited activities. So there are some good okay. So some contacts and resources, not only, for the member, but for you as well. Vista Campus, they just updated this website, but it's a very comprehensive website and it's awesome. There is a supervisor section, so you can look at it, go over it. You can look at more policies if you want. You can look at, the Vista's terms and conditions. You can look at like the benefits of service, the member handbooks. That's something that Vista will go over with the member on their first day of training during their orientation, but you can take a look at it, print it out if you want, whatever you want to do. Also, other resources are our regional office. So if for some reason you need to talk to our VISTA portfolio manager, we can give you that information. Another good resource is the VISTA member support unit. Sometimes there are things that maybe we can't help with, and we will refer the member to the support unit contact so that they can make sure that they get all of their questions answered.
Okay, so what is happening next? We have a project site agreement that is just, sort of like a memorandum of agreement or, one of those other terms between HHCK and your site. So you'll have that come through DocuSign. We encourage you to read it pretty thoroughly. A lot of what's included in the agreement is what we covered in today's training, but there is some more information. So you'll sign those and we'll get those filed. Before your member starts service, you'll receive information on your America Learns account. You'll also get some training materials so you can see how to navigate the website, how to approve time, how to look at reports, things like that. And member background checks. So VISTA conducts all background checks for your member. They're not going to send you a copy though. So if you need something for your own site, you'll need to take care of that, before the member starts. Your member's going to get guidance from VISTA on how to complete those checks. We're not involved in that at all. We can help your member figure out what they need to do, but it is important for your member to be responsive to any emails they see coming from VISTA. Okay, so on the screen, you have our contact information. You've probably already exchanged emails with Holly as well. But in case not, both of our emails are up there. And if you have any questions on the site contribution or the HHCK membership, you can contact Wendy Tucker. She's our Director of Finance. The site contribution, we will be invoicing those, I believe, next month. So you can pay it all at once. We do offer a quarterly payment plan though, if organizations need to take us up on that. And if you don't place a VISTA this year, you won't receive an invoice. But if you do, you'll get that from our office. I also listed our phone number and our websites, just hhck.org, pretty quick. We do have a tab for sites and supervisors. You can find so many different things on there. You'll find this training, you'll find our VISTA supervisor manual that we'll also send out. You'll find the America Learns training materials, the AmeriCorps logos on there. There's so many different things. So we do send all of that out over email, but if you ever are needing to find something and you don't want to look through your inbox, you can just go to HHCK's website and you'll probably find whatever you're looking for there. So that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining. We're really excited to work with your organizations. We're excited to get your members started. We're excited to come see you all hopefully this fall. We've missed meeting with our sites and supervisors and seeing everyone in action. So we're really looking forward to that. If you have any questions, we'll stay on for a few minutes. But if you don't, you are free to get back to your day. So thank you again.